And we are rolling today, yeah. I'm filming this in the day, and I don't really know what I want to talk about, so I'm gonna just wing it for now. My last video actually got a lot of good support, so I greatly appreciate that, and I'm glad that it got the most views. But I'm also a little embarrassed too that this video had to be the one to get the most views and not the hiking video, because, well, geez. Wow, it's like, the soppy stuff just typically isn't really my game. But I don't know what I want to talk about today. Let's see, let's read my journal and see what I want to talk about at the moment. In frugality, victimhood, anxiousness, procrastination, hopelessness, cynicism, unhealthiness. I'm gonna flip it up a bit, because I think I did talk about the same relationship stuff for a couple videos in a row besides the reading thing. So I'm gonna switch it up and talk about, the concept of victimhood and what that means to me. Because I typically am somebody who doesn't want to carry himself with any kind of victimhood or feel like, the world's rigged against me and, I'm screwed for life and, there's nothing I can do about it. It's so cringy. And in my mind, the reason why I find it cringy necessarily isn't because, I don't think that this stuff exists, because I have dealt with racism too in some way, shape, or form. And just because I have dealt with it doesn't mean that I think that, the world's rigged against me and I won't be able to get far in my job because I'm black, or that I won't be able to find much success in anything because, I'm black, or I'm a minority. That term minority is, weird in its own right too, because it makes me because then, okay, if I really was a minority, then why is a third of the population here in Georgia black? Have you ever thought about that too? Then I'm not a minority too. I think a minority for me would probably be, I guess, Samoan people too, because I don't see them around here that much, honestly, and don't know much about them. And who knows, maybe I'm being ignorant, and I have seen a Samoan before, but I didn't know they were Samoan or something, because they kind of do have a bit of a racially ambiguous look to them to a certain degree. Really and truthfully, I think there are other ways people could have problems with me too. It could be because, it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm black. I get this a lot that, I don't typically act or talk like most black people. And this isn't something I do on purpose, oh, he only talks to white people, and is some sort of weird groupie pick me boy for racists. No, I don't do that. That's just how I was. And the fact that I'm from 3 different countries, America, Trinidad, and England, so and have family that are in those countries, so I think my accent is just a tad bit mixed to a point where I will sound weird. And to some people, it's hard to get accustomed to. But to some people, it's cool. And to some people, they're just indifferent to the way I talk, really. So I have to worry about people judging me for stuff like that, too. And not necessarily just, the fact that I'm black. There's a bunch of stuff, too. I'm a dude with long hair. I know that, puts a target on you, too. I have tattoos. That puts a target on you, too. And okay, I know these are small and coverable. If I wore any normal polo, it wouldn't be noticeable. Nobody would know I had tattoos. If I don't tell anyone I have tattoos, then they wouldn't know I have tattoos yet, until I probably get a sleeve eventually. But other than that, it's that's another thing that I have to worry about: having tattoos, having long hair, and wanting to have long hair. Difference between race is the fact that, okay, I choose to have those things, so it isn't that much of a far stretch to, make it so that, okay, I have a higher chance of being judged or treated like shit because of, the length of my hair, and tattoos again too, because I chose to have those, and those have a certain stigma. That stigma to some people, although I think that's kind of outdated now, because I think there's more and more people nowadays who would actually find that kind of cool, especially the tattoo part. I think really and truthfully, the whole tattoo thing is really only a huge problem if a girl does it too, because it's viewed as a red flag, and it's like sort of the same thing as like hair dye. Like, okay, for a guy, it kind of symbolizes immaturity or something, or a midlife crisis of sorts. But if a girl did it, it's sort of has this vibe of being a red flag, and just being like, okay, yeah, people who typically look like this have a high chance of acting up and probably don't have a good relationship with their parents, and this, that, and the other, which I do not believe, by the way. I don't believe this. But if you don't have tattoos and you're just not all about that, then yeah, I think it's perfectly reasonable to not want to date somebody who doesn't have tattoos, who has tattoos. But for me personally, don't care. I think going back to the whole racism thing, I don't mind it too. I'm not saying I don't mind racism, but I'm saying I've never actually face to face actually dealt with full on racism before. I don't think I could ever recall, like, in real life actually having a racist encounter. And I live in Georgia, and when I say Georgia, not Atlanta, Georgia, like suburban, like small town part of Georgia, where there are white people who kind of do have that stereotypical look too. And yeah, that's the thing. I think the closest thing to racism that I probably could deal with, I remembered this. I think it was when I was talking to somebody, and my boss made this comment saying, and don't get me wrong, I'm not acting like this was like a shoot in the head or anything like that, really, but it was just like a sort of, really, are you serious right now, bro? kind of deal where, it kind of baffled me. I didn't say anything, obviously, but it was just weird. That's it. It was really just weird. And first it happened when I was talking to a girl, and I was talking to her for a bit, and it was striking up a conversation, and and when the conversation ended, my boss just did this thing where she was like, yeah, you're trying to get her number. And then she got excited and just went, oh yeah, Aiden was trying to get her number. And she was like, and he said, oh hey girl, what's up? Like, with a black voice too. And I was like, when have you ever heard me talk like that? I don't talk like that. What are you doing? There's a big difference between like just dumb, awkward racism like that. That's not bad. I don't hate them now for that, really. And at the end of the day, I don't think they meant any genuine harm to me by doing that. And I think it was just, just a circumstantial, like, knee-jerk thing too, and an automatic assumption as to how a black person talks, really, that kind of put that in her head as to, like, thinking that that was okay. And then, it's nothing extreme where I think, okay, she's a Nazi and wants to kill me. I've had xenophobic experiences with people before too, but it's only been once, and it was by another black person at a job I worked at too. And I don't know, I think he made some comment to me. I don't remember how it went, but I remembered I wasn't speaking very loud because I had a very bad habit of not speaking to people clearly, to a point where that would have, or if not could have, possibly pissed some people off to some extent. And out of frustration, he went and said, bro, speak up, I don't speak Trinidadian. And the thing is, since I was new to that job, relatively new to that job, like 2-3 months, I kind of didn't feel like I could have like brought that to HR or anything like that. So I kind of just let him do that because I felt like he had more influence in there than me, which to some extent was true because he was more experienced, had a whole year of experience of that job on me, plus not to mention that's my first job too. And yeah, I just let him do that, and it was weird. But those are the only like small cases of actual like racism or prejudice I've ever had to deal with. So I don't feel a need to, whenever something doesn't go my way, or I have a bad argument with someone if they're white, to say, oh well, you're just racist. No, I don't. That's so cringy and ridiculous in its own right too. And I do believe that sometimes if you keep thinking you're a victim of every circumstance, and that, oh yeah, this isn't working out for me, I'm a victim of this, oh yeah, this keeps happening to me, people keep doing this to me, people keep talking to me like this, then sometimes it's like maybe you do need to kind of look at yourself, because then you feel like you're a victim of these people, but they probably think that they're potentially a victim of you due to a certain way you may act or come off to some extent. And most of the times, yeah, when it comes to people, sometimes I get a vibe of some people who just look at me and don't like me for whatever reason, whether it be, whatever physical description I have, or what I may do. I'm putting my glasses on because I like looking at this camera kind of hurts without my glasses because it's so small and tiny essentially. But yeah, there could be other reasons as to why people could not like you too. And I think one thing I realized to do is that I don't really go around telling people that I'm an immigrant from another country and that I'm from three different countries anymore, because it it's gonna put me in a position where, yeah, they're gonna have ammunition to make xenophobic comments if they think they could get away with it. And I don't know, that was when I just got there, and I when I just moved here, and I haven't gotten anything like that again, really, since that happened. And since those people in particular, I haven't gotten any xenophobic comments or anything like that, thankfully. you know? So, yeah, it's genuinely a weird one. It's a weird thing to think about. I really hope my hair isn't looking too weird right now. Yeah, I hope so. If it is, it's whatever, I guess. It's whatever. And this isn't me, taking out of account the fact that there are actual snakes in this world who will try to screw you in some kind of way. That exists. Yeah, it does. I will never deny that, but sometimes you kind of do need to work towards making sure it doesn't happen. And instead of thinking that you're just a victim of people and just waiting for, the same bad thing to happen to you again and be like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about it. Why don't you, like, do something to deal with that instead of, moping about it? Because to some extent, when it comes to certain relationships I've had in my life, one thing that I try to think about is that, okay, especially particularly relationships that haven't been that good and didn't end off very well, one thing that I try to do, that I try my absolute best to do, is to also think, where in this situation was it my fault? Whether it be that I allowed this kind of person to be in my life, or that, there's probably a bit of a fuckery I may have done in that relationship too. I constantly suggest people think like that and really assess, their lives in that manner, really, so you could learn for the future instead of worrying about the past and thinking about the past. You can't change the past, but you can change the future. That's a quote that sort of stuck with me from a cartoon I used to watch when I was a kid. It's so crazy. That show is way more deep than I actually thought it was, but I'm sidetracking, and I think I've run out of what to say because I've said everything I needed to say. So, what do I want to do today? I don't know. I still didn't clean my room. I'm gonna go do that now.